After the werewolf case was over, Anthony, who lost his son, had been preparing to take revenge on Aiden. The Piece of the Rose prison was about to cease to exist, but what the warden Aiden did not expect was that the first person to attack him was the prison guard. The story began this morning. Aiden's assistant, Franda, just went to work in the prison as usual, but for some reason, he always felt that someone was following him, and this situation has been going on for several days. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared and ran towards him. In an emergency, Franda drew his pistol. But the next second, the man knelt down and said, "Miss Franda, please marry me." This was a problem for him, because Franda had been married for a long time. Upon hearing this news, the man's face instantly turned pale, and several other men nearby also expressed their regret. After returning to the prison, Franda immediately reported the incident to Aiden. It turned out that a writer had written a novel about the werewolf case, in which he not only affirmed Aiden's ability, but also described a lot of female guards in the prison, such as Franda, who became a goddess with a perfect figure. The group of people on the island came to pursue Franda after reading the novel. At this time, Aiden did not realize the seriousness of the matter. He thought he could take this opportunity to find spouses for the single female prison guards. As they were talking, a prison guard came in. He came to resign. He was hired by the most famous women's prison in the empire. Aiden was naturally happy for his subordinates to have a good future. At this moment, the prison doctor also rushed over. He also came to resign. He received an acceptance letter from the medical school. This gave Aiden a headache. "You want to resign too?" The night quietly covered the Rose prison. Jalala found that there were very few prison guards patrolling today because the other prison guards were in Aiden's office. Without exception, they all came to resign. Some of them were noticed by wealthy businessmen, and some got better jobs, so they were all eager to resign to Aiden. Flanda felt something was wrong. If so many people resigned at the same time, the prison would be in big trouble. So he asked his colleagues to work for another month to give the prison some time to recruit people. When they heard this, they immediately became unhappy, because how could their employer wait for them for a month? So their emotions suddenly became agitated, and they began to complain about all the bad things in the prison. They even thought that Franda was jealous of them. The situation was getting out of control. Aiden, unable to bear it any longer, slammed the table and said, "As prison guards, do you think this is appropriate? I'm happy for you all to have a better place to go, but I also have one request. Complete the most basic work handover before you leave." But it is obvious that these words cannot impress these obsessed people at all. I don't know who started taking off their clothes first, but with the first person taking the lead, countless people followed and threw their police uniforms and guns on the ground. At this moment, no matter how dumb Aiden was, he realized that the large-scale resignation of prison guards must be the first step for Anthony to launch revenge. He was once the cutest prisoner in the Rose prison, but now he is so scared that he is trembling under the table, and he is madly regretting becoming the lackey of the warden Aiden. It turned out that the Rose prison was about to enter its darkest hour. Countless prison guards resigned from Aiden for the sake of profit. In just one night, hundreds of prison guards left the prison. This also caused the remaining prison guards to be completely unable to control the situation. At this time, Aiden was still waiting at the prison gate. He still had some expectations for those who resigned, but it was obvious that the reality was cruel. Franda's face was full of worry. If this continues, there will be a riot in the prison sooner or later. At this moment, a little head popped out from the door. It turned out to be a werewolf. He came here specifically to apply for the position of prison guard. Franda was very confused. "Didn't you go back to the village?" His words made the werewolf shy. Only then did the werewolf realize that the prison was particularly empty today. Suddenly a prison guard rushed out. "Oh no, Master Aiden. The prisoners are about to riot, and we can't suppress them with just a few people." At this time in the prison, those few troublemakers were still shouting. They realized that something was wrong in the prison today, and they were clamoring for the prison guards to open the cell doors. At this time, Jalala felt that the whole prison was filled with violent emotions and hid under the bed in fear. At this time, the prison gate opened, and the warden Aiden finally rushed back. As soon as the noise was heard, the licking dog succubus appeared. "Master Aiden, come and protect me." Suddenly his eyes widened because he saw the werewolf behind him. He thought the werewolf had been caught again, so he quickly told him to hide in his house. The werewolf ignored him and slowly put on the prison guard's uniform. The tiger man who had just shouted was very disdainful, and it was obvious that he didn't take the werewolf seriously. This is the first step for a new prison guard, to establish your prestige in front of the prisoners. The werewolf responded to him calmly, and then he pointed at the people who were shouting the loudest. "You three, come out. I want to fight you one-on-one." As soon as he finished speaking, the whole prison was filled with laughter at him. The tigress was the most arrogant. "No need for others. I can beat you alone." But the reality is that the werewolf only took a few seconds to kill the three of them. Anyone else want to taste my fist? As soon as these words came out, the whole prison fell silent. Aiden was very satisfied with the result. You know, the werewolf is the most powerful one in the police force. The succubus was extremely excited at this moment. Did you see it? Did you see it? My sister is the queen now. Make it clear to me who is the boss in the future. After saying that, he blew a kiss to the werewolf, and the werewolf instantly showed a silly smile. At this moment, a voice interrupted them. As expected of Lord Aiden, even with so few people, he can manage the prison in an orderly manner. The speaker was the director who controlled the finances of Silver City. Aiden was very confused. Mr. Dowd, what are you doing here? The scene comes to the warden's office. There are only 90 prison guards in the prison now. After deducting the wages of those who resign, they decide to reduce the monthly funding for the prison to £600,000. Flanda's face changed instantly. Are you kidding? The maintenance of the prison's forbidden magic circle alone costs 650,000 gold pounds every month. This was Aiden's most helpless moment. The once arrogant warden was now being humiliated by others. Under Anthony's operation, the prison guards resigned one after another, and the financial director of Silver City took the opportunity to reduce the prison's funding to £600,000. Flanda was shocked. You know, the prison's forbidden magic circle alone costs £650,000 every month. And some prisoners are special, and they also spend £80,000 every month, and the prison repairs every month also costs £60,000, and the money spent on prison guards is exactly the least. So you deducted £200,000 because of the resignation of prison guards. Do you think this is reasonable? Doug quickly waved his hand and said, You misunderstood me. If the magic circle is running at full power, it does require so much money, but don't we have Lord Aiden? Can you lower the power a bit? After all, we all know Lord Aiden's strength. After he left, Flanda's face was full of sorrow, while Aiden remained silent from beginning to end. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and then he slowly said, From now on, you are the deputy warden. When I'm not here, you can take full charge of the prison affairs. I have to think carefully about how to survive this period of time. Flanda broke out in a cold sweat. You mean we are in trouble? These recent incidents are not coincidences, but a conspiracy against the prison. And the mastermind behind this is not only Anthony, but there may be other nobles as well. When the prison gate opened again, Franda changed into a new set of clothes. Some prison guards recognized that it was the deputy warden's clothes. I'm notifying everyone that Lord Aiden has other things to do. From now on, I will be in full charge of the Rose prison. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire prison was filled with laughter at him. Franda was very calm. The one who laughs the loudest will be beaten with 20 batons each. Unexpectedly, the two men were even happier. Who do you think 20 batons can scare? Veronica, you carry out the order. The werewolf's expression was innocent. If the baton is broken, you don't want me to compensate you, right? The two prisoners panicked instantly. By the way, let me tell you that all the doctors in the prison have resigned. If you get injured, it will be up to you whether you can survive. Then he gathered the remaining prison guards together. He wanted to maximize the efficiency of the prison guards. At the same time, the prisoners in other cells also quieted down. A King Kong Barbie was particularly attractive. On the other side, a mouse walked into Alice's cell. He already knew that the prison had been deducted funds. Lena, what do you think about this? If you think there is a chance to escape, then go ahead. I won't care about you. On the contrary, if there is a chance, I will definitely get out before you. A riot is about to break out in the Rose prison. Countless terrifying female demons have bared their fangs. Can the warden Aiden turn the tide? Just a day ago, Aiden gave Franda the right to take charge of the prison. Of course, Franda did not disappoint him. He not only suppressed the disruptive prisoners with an iron fist, but also managed the prison guards in an orderly manner. Under his tough management, if the prisoners even just glanced at him secretly, Flanders would scold them mercilessly. The werewolf was standing by and witnessed the whole process of him teaching the prisoner a lesson. Even he couldn't help but sigh at Flanders' strength. At this moment, a man suddenly appeared behind him. He was the warden of District 1 of the prison, and the werewolf was one of his subordinates. The two of them gathered together and chatted aimlessly. At this time, the prison sent another batch of prisoners. The warden of District 2 was speechless. The prison is so short of staff now, and they are still sending more prisoners in, including a prisoner who was caught smuggling. Isn't this a pure waste of resources? The person sitting in the prison van was later. When he heard the conversation outside, the corners of his mouth raised slightly in a strange arc. In a blink of an eye, he was successfully escorted to the prison. As soon as he entered the cell, a voice came from behind him. You are the newcomer, right? Then the quilt was suddenly thrown back. Let me tell you, I am a veteran in the prison. The warden is my male lover, and the prison guards are my sisters who grew up drinking milk together. Call me Big Sister, and I will protect you. Later fulfilled his little wish, and the succubus instantly smiled. Then my clothes will be given to you from now on. Looking at the naive and stupid succubus, later smiled. The sun slowly sets, and darkness is about to cover the Rose prison. At this moment, a man secretly sets fire to Aiden's office. Hey, Xiao, why are you running here instead of staying in Conan? Soon the werewolves smelled a strange smell, and then they turned their heads and looked back, only to find that the entire prison was engulfed in flames. This made the prison guards panic, and at this time there was movement behind them again. It was those strange prisoners who took the opportunity to start a riot. The prison guards initially resisted with weapons, but one of them could not help but retreat, and then the prison guards fled in large numbers. Franda's efforts to stop them were completely useless. A prisoner watched all this indifferently. He understood that Franda was not able to completely convince all the prison guards at this moment. At this time, the prison was in chaos, and all the prison guards were sent out to suppress the riot. King Kong Barbie asked, "Is the prison going to be finished?" It was not because the real protagonist had not yet appeared. On the other side, the rioting prisoners had already rushed up. Opposite them were the werewolf and 3 ordinary people. Suddenly, a cane hit the ground hard, and the warden, Aiden, finally appeared. As soon as he appeared, the rioters could not help but retreat. Aiden slowly said, "Good evening, ladies." Warden Aiden was finally going to take action. This time, he was going to severely reward the prisoners who made trouble. It turned out that just one day ago, a fire broke out suddenly in the Rose prison, and the prisoners took this opportunity to start a riot. The sudden change left Franda unable to resist at all. At the critical moment, Aiden finally rushed back. As soon as Aiden appeared, the rioting prisoners quieted down. The scene was a little silent for a while, and no one wanted to speak at this time. Finally, Aiden broke the silence first. "Can anyone come out and explain to me? I was only away for a short while, and you dared to attack the prison guards." The vampire spat in the corner. "It's already this late. Why are you still pretending?" Aiden suddenly turned around and looked at him. "Are you so arrogant as a groundhog?" The vampire's face instantly turned red with anger. "Why are you so proud now? Don't you know that there are still a few prison guards in the prison? So, you are confident? Then I will give you a chance. In the next 3 days, except for the special prisoners, all other prisoners' cells will be opened, and you can do whatever you want. I want to see who is stronger, my fist or your life." As soon as these words were spoken, the prison suddenly became noisy, and this was Aiden's only solution. There is a serious shortage of prison guards in prisons now, and it is impossible to find so many prison guards in a short period of time. However, if we can recruit a group of prisoners to serve as prison guards, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so the scene just now happened. After the explanation, Aiden took the werewolf and Flando away. After he left, After hid in the corner. He was very surprised that he didn't understand what Aiden was planning. Then he set his sights on the succubus. "Big sister, have you heard of a prisoner named Aiden?" Hearing this, the succubus's expression instantly tensed up. "Something's wrong with you. You just recognized me as the big sister, and now you're asking about other prisoners. Tell me, do you want to betray me?" Later, quickly explained to him that she was just curious. The succubus snorted coldly. "I advise you to put away your curiosity. You will never have the opportunity to come into contact with privileged prisoners like Aiden. After all, not everyone can be the daughter of Lord Aiden. Lord Aiden not only cares about him, but also teaches him how to read and write." Hearing this, later, S face slowly darkened, because in his cold-blooded eyes, Aiden could only be a cold-blooded killing machine. Under the careful training of later, Aiden has never had any emotions since he was a child. Even with just one word from him, Aiden can kill everyone in the world. Therefore, he naturally did not allow anyone to take away his murder weapon. At this time, Aiden was in the first step of the office plan. "Do you have any questions?" Flanda's face was serious. "Don't worry, Lord Aiden. I will arrange tomorrow's plan. Then let's meet at a secret place tomorrow." After coming out of the office, he immediately found the werewolf, because Aiden had just asked him to help tell the werewolf something. He leaned close to the werewolf's ear and whispered, "There's a hole in the back of your pants." This was the most tough moment for Warden Aiden. Facing the collective riot of prisoners, he announced in front of everyone, "Open the prison door. I want to see who is harder, my fist or your life." Originally, the prisoners were skeptical about his words, but what no one expected was that the prisoners' cell doors were actually opened the next day, and even the prison gate was opened wide, which made the prisoners a little overwhelmed. At this moment, the warden of Area 1 of the prison appeared, holding a camera and frantically encouraging the prisoners to get out of the prison as soon as possible. Faced with this strange situation, the prisoners unanimously chose to let a big villain explore the way first, because this snake demon kept clamoring to be the first to go out. But at this moment, some unpleasant memories kept flashing through his mind. A long time ago, when Aiden arrested him, he had been biting Aiden's hand tightly in order to resist. Unexpectedly, Aiden put him directly under the crater and kept this posture for 3 hours. When he thought of this, he was about to back out, but the other prisoners disagreed. When the two were arguing, a handsome Kunkin suddenly appeared and said, "Catch him quickly. This is the food for lunch." However, this Kunkin's movement was amazing. He actually jumped over with a big jump, and then he rushed out of the door without hesitation. Under the expectant eyes of everyone, Kunkin, he succeeded, and then he excitedly let out a cooing cry. Of course, the prisoners were more excited than him. They seemed to smell the scent of freedom. But the next second, a magic circle suddenly appeared under Kunkin's feet, followed by an explosion. When Kunkin landed again, he had become Sukin. The prisoners were shocked by Kunkin's death. One prisoner pointed at the district chief angrily and said, "Give my brother back to me." At this time, another prisoner, the Birdman, stood up. He lifted up Jalala, who was eating melons, with one hand and said, "Throw this lackey out. I want to see how many magic circles are out there." Just as Jalala was about to be thrown out by him, Tigress interrupted him and said, "It's just a few magic circles. There's no need to involve innocent weaklings." At this time, two people also quietly approached the Birdman. The next second, the Birdman's arm and right leg were suddenly scratched. The intense pain made him let go of Jalala instantly. "I'm sorry, your jailbreak is your own business. Prisoners who don't want to escape will not be allowed to do whatever they want. Don't forget that you are still in prison." The speakers were a pair of twins, who were the heads of District 2 and District 3 respectively. Then the district chief of District 4 appeared and said, "Prisoners who don't want to escape, please come back with me first, so as to avoid innocent people being hurt later." To be honest, the way the succubus carried Jalala really made me laugh. After the words fell, quite a few people chose to leave. Tigress smiled and said, "That's good. Next, let's watch the performance of us strong men." But suddenly, he seemed to see something incredible, and the next second he knelt down suddenly. "I'm sorry, Master Austin. I shouldn't call myself a strong man in front of you." This was the most tough moment for Warden Aiden. Facing the collective riot of prisoners, he actually announced in front of everyone that the prison door would be opened. "I want to see who is harder, my fist or your life." As soon as these words were spoken, the prisoners began to cheer, but when the prison gate was actually opened, they were a little at a loss. After seeing their brother walk out of the gate and become a Sukin, quite a number of prisoners chose to quit, but this tigress refused to believe in evil and said, "I must escape from prison today." Just as he was about to take action, he suddenly knelt down the next second. "I'm sorry, Master Austin. I shouldn't be so presumptuous in front of you." Standing in front of him was a tall half-orc. He was the eldest princess of the Marco Polo family and the ruler of all orcs. The woman spoke slowly. "Get up. You didn't let me down. In this situation, you didn't bully the weak and didn't bring shame to our orcs." Hearing this, the tigress smiled. "Your Highness, are you going to escape from prison? I am willing to be your pawn." Austin rejected him. "No, I just brought a friend to watch the fun." The friend he mentioned was also of noble status. Hiding in the corner, After was secretly frightened. He smelled a familiar and terrifying smell. At this moment, a voice came. "Good children, is there anyone willing to come to the kitchen to help me? I plan to research some desserts and need someone to taste them." Hearing this, the two prisoners were eager to try, but before they could open their mouths, a figure flew over and said, "I'm the prison's gold medal fighter. With me in the kitchen, no one will dare to cause trouble." Lena on the side was speechless. "You guy, you told me yesterday that you wanted to escape from prison." Alice said, "Stop talking nonsense." At this moment, Flanda's voice came from behind Lena. "The prison librarian has resigned. Are you willing to take this position? You can stay in there all day." As soon as the voice fell, Lena was instantly happy. After witnessed the whole process from the side, and at the same time, he also understood Aiden's intention. All the areas in the prison with hidden dangers were stationed with strong thugs to make those prisoners who wanted to escape feel fear in their hearts. It was said to open the prison door, but in fact it was to create a larger cell. The only flaw now is the abandoned construction site next to the playground. It is too empty, and with the current number of prison guards, it is impossible to guard it. So, will Aiden place my daughter there? As he expected, Aiden was there at this moment, giving Ajin a morning lesson, but there was a huge wine barrel under his feet. Just then, two figures rushed over. Come and have a look, there is wine here. Aiden smiled. Finally, you took the bait. You have a pretty good nose, but this wine is for the overtime guards. Look at this empty lawn. I'm going to find a group of guards to work overtime to guard it. Hearing this, King Kong Barbie became anxious. My best skill is to watch the scene. I used to be the leader of mercenaries. As long as you give me this wine, I promise to complete your task excellently, Lord Aiden. Aiden agreed reluctantly, but I still want to find someone to help me plow the land, but you can't complete the task alone. Hearing this, King Kong Barbie's little follower was suddenly shocked. He wanted us to find prisoners to do the work, but this would definitely make us make a lot of enemies. Aiden stood up at this time. As long as you find someone to help me plow the land, I can make you drink until you vomit. After, who was hiding aside witnessed the whole process. He didn't expect Aiden to be so bold that he even started to bribe prisoners to manage the prison. But don't worry, daughter. As long as my ant army is large enough, it will be time for us mother and daughter to start killing. Warden Aiden's intention was exposed at this moment. On the surface, he opened the prison door, but in fact, he created a larger cage for the prisoners. First, he used the death of his brother to severely intimidate the most arrogant prisoners. Then he arranged strong thugs in places in the prison where there were safety risks. He then used some small costs to make the prisoners work for him voluntarily. In this way, the problem of insufficient staff in the prison was easily solved. What he didn't know was that Future had been lurking in the prison for a long time, ready to take Aiden on a killing spree at any time. The setting sun dyed the leaves golden. Afterwards, picked up a stone casually, and then his belly slowly moved. Suddenly, his belly turned into a big mouth, and then he stuffed the stone in. At this moment, the prison guard who was guarding here said, "Come out. No one will come here." Hearing this, Later slowly walked out from the corner. "My ant army is almost ready, but I need a breakthrough, and I need a prisoner who can be won over to help me. The vampire prince in cell 2 just escaped from prison last month and was caught. I think you can easily win him over." At the same time, the vampire looked at the dinner in his hand and was very desperate. "I am a vampire prince after all. Is it appropriate for you to keep feeding me pig blood?" The prison guard said, "You should be content. If it weren't for Lord Aiden's humanitarian concern, you might not even be able to drink duck neck blood." At this moment, the pig blood in his hand suddenly became extremely hot. He couldn't hold it for a moment, and then the pig blood in his hand fell to the ground in an instant. Looking at the pig blood spilled all over the ground, his heart was broken at this moment. What was even worse was that a pair of feet stepped on it, and the owner of the feet was Later. The vampire was completely furious at this moment. He suddenly rushed towards afterwards and pushed him to the ground with just one encounter. "Damn human, how dare you touch my dinner? Then use your blood to fill my stomach." Hearing this, afterwards looked indifferent. "Then you can try it. I want to see if the curse on your neck works." As soon as these words came out, the vampire's arrogance disappeared instantly. At this moment, the Later fat intestine suddenly rushed out of his stomach, and then the fat intestine slowly stretched into the vampire's mouth. "Don't talk. This dinner is my gift to you." Then the vampire was surprised to find that the power of the curse disappeared, and his sealed magic power was slowly recovering. Later smiled. "I can remove the curse of all prisoners. Do you want to kill Aiden with me?" At the same time, Flanda followed Aiden's instructions and came to the warehouse. What surprised him was that there was a cold magic circle here. Aiden explained to him that this was to prevent the noses of certain prisoners, and this prisoner was the harmless Alice. After all, she had the ability to control animals, and the cold air array could block the heat perception of certain animals. Aiden continued, "Now we can start the next step. After a few days of investigation, I found that the prison can be roughly divided into 3 categories of prisoners. The first category is the prisoners who cannot be educated and are born violent. They are also the source of prison riots. I call them rioters. The second category is the prisoners who have to stay in prison. Most of them are just idling around in prison. I call them neutrals. The third category is prisoners who are ostracized by the outside world. They feel more comfortable in prison than outside, so I call them the model group. Our next plan is to gather the power of the model group, support a boss inside, and then use the power of the prisoners to defeat the prisoners. The Rose prison is about to undergo a major reshuffle. Under the planning of Warden Aiden, the prisoners in the prison are divided into 3 camps, representing the untamed rioters, the neutrals who are forced to stay in prison, and the model camps who prefer to stay in prison than outside. Warden Aiden's next plan is to support the model faction and use the power of the prisoners to defeat them. Under the afterglow, a group of ants are working hard, and the vampire is showing everyone his newly released magic power. This is exactly the next plan of Later, using the removal of the spell as bait to attract more prisoners to join him. Obviously, the effect was surprisingly good. The rioting prisoners had no ability to resist this bait. Seeing that the time was almost right, later slowly appeared and said, "If you want the potion to remove the curse, you must obey all my instructions and bring more prisoners while I am making the potion." Seeing how arrogant he was, the prisoners began to question him. "You are a newcomer. What right do you have to command us? How can we trust you based on just a few words from you?" Facing the doubts, After was very calm. The next second, countless tentacles suddenly emerged from his body and rushed towards the prisoners at a very fast speed. When he retracted the tentacles again, the prisoners were surprised to find a mysterious mark on their arms. "Don't be nervous, everyone. Once you successfully escape from prison, the brand will disappear. But before that, you must obey me, otherwise you will die without a burial place." On the other hand, Aiden also took action. Under his instructions, a large number of prisoners were relocated to new cells, and a small number of prisoners were even released early. The released prisoner was confused. "Did you make a mistake? My sentence should end next month." The prison guard was speechless. "I was released early, and you are not happy about it?" Franda was in the corner, observing the prisoner's movements all the time, but to his relief, everything went smoothly. At the same time, in the square of the prison, the prisoners who were subdued by later were now frantically trying to win over other prisoners. At this moment, a voice interrupted them. "You should go back to the cell." "Why go back? Didn't Aiden say that we would be given 3 days of freedom?" Veronica said calmly. "You can do whatever you want during the day, but we prison guards need to rest at night. Do you want to cause trouble for me?" Hearing this, the prisoners instantly quieted down. On the one hand, they were afraid of the werewolf's strength, and on the other hand, they had been told not to have conflicts with the prison guards in the future. After thinking it over again and again, they returned to the prison obediently. But when they returned to the prison, they found that their cells had been occupied by others. Before they could lose their temper, the twin warden arrived with a large number of prison guards. "In view of your violent behavior against other prisoners during the day, Lord Aiden has decided to change your cells. Your new room is at the back. Go in by yourself." As soon as these words came out, the Birdman was about to start another riot, but suddenly the snakeman next to him thought of something. "If we are all together, wouldn't it be better for us to communicate? We can also develop new people around us." After some discussion, they decided to go to the new cell right away. After, who was standing by witnessed the whole process. He didn't understand why Aiden wanted to gather the prisoners together. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something. Before entering the prison, Anthony had warned him to be careful of the cells marked with black, as they held the highest-ranking prisoners in the Rose prison. At this time, the rioters seemed to realize something. Before they could start discussing, the sound of claws being sharpened appeared on this floor, and the sound was made by the so-called senior prisoners. Birdman collapsed. "Forget about discussing. I can't even sleep tonight." Later also figured it out. The purpose of Aiden's partial plan of the cell was nothing more than harassing the rioting prisoners. At this moment, he heard a voice in his ear again. "If I can eat this well every day, I am willing to stay in prison for the rest of my life." That's right. There are so many of us aliens out there who don't have enough food to eat and are discriminated against by normal people. I really don't understand why there are still people who want to escape from prison. After listening for a while, later, gradually felt something was wrong. How come the prisoners here all have common topics? All this is Aiden's layout. First, he gathered the model prisoners and let them unscrupulously promote the good of the prison to attract the neutral prisoners. The rioters implemented a policy of interference. "Anyway, I can't convince you, so I will fight violence with violence." In the cells among the model factions were the prisoners carefully selected by Aiden, namely the mercenary leader Jin Jia and his cunning strategist Aya. Warden Aiden's second step of the plan officially began. First, he arranged the prisoners of the same faction in the same cell, and then asked the model prisoners to publicize the benefits of the prison, so as to win over the neutral faction, while the rioters adopted a policy of fighting violence with violence. The next plan is to support the former mercenary leader Jin Jia, and let him gather the power of the model faction to counter the riot faction. Late at night, Franda and the werewolf found him. They came to Jin Jia to ask for the list of prisoners who would participate in the reclamation. Not long ago, Aiden used a barrel of wine as a lure to get the Jin family to agree to help him find someone to open up the prison's wasteland. But what he didn't expect was that as soon as Franda finished speaking, he heard voices mocking him from all around. But just when the Jin family wanted to reject Franda, his military advisor Aya stopped him and said, "Boss, have you noticed that the prisoners around us seem to be specially selected? These people either have short sentences, or they entered the prison to seek asylum, and some even regard the prison as their home. They have never thought of escaping from prison. I roughly calculated that there are about 200 prisoners who don't want to escape. So Lord Aiden doesn't want us to be cannon fodder, but wants us to take the opportunity to gather a huge force under the pretext of opening up new land and giving benefits, so as to fight against the rioters. And the reason why Lord Aiden chose you is probably because he knew that you were once the leader of a mercenary group. The Jean family was very disdainful of what he said. No matter how nice you say it, you are still his running dog. Don't forget how our mercenary group was destroyed. Being someone else's dog will not end well. You love your master, but your master doesn't love you anymore. But this time it's different. First of all, the warden is on our side. Secondly, those prisoners just want to escape and won't fight us to death. Besides, even if we don't agree, someone else will do it, and then we will lose the initiative. Hearing this, Jean Jia sighed helplessly, and then he slowly said, "Does anyone want a drink? I have some good wine distributed by the prison." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding prisoners responded one after another, especially the succubus who seemed particularly excited. "Jean Jia, you must take me with you. Old sister must help me." Hiding in the corner, Ho also understood Aiden's true intention at this moment, but he was not panicked at all, because in his eyes, these people were just a mob. As long as I can win over Alice, then escaping from prison will be easy. A long time ago, he was Alice's student, but because he used human bodies for experiments, he was expelled from the mock assembly by Alice. At that time, later, was very puzzled. I just used beggars who were ignored by everyone to do experiments, and no one would find out. You still dare to quibble at this time? I'm reminding you, if you don't get out now, when Teacher Gaia comes, you won't have the chance to get out. As they were talking, a monster with a snake tail and 4 hands rushed over. It was none other than the Gaia mentor Alice had mentioned. "Gee, Taime, you were looking for death." Only at this moment did Later feel fear, and he immediately began to flee in panic. But it was obvious that Gaia was not going to let him go. He spit out a wave of energy from his mouth, and that energy wave instantly sent Later flying. Under the gaze of the witch Alice, he flew far away, and the place where he was about to fall was called the Land of God's Fall. But later, fortunately, he not only survived, but also used the secret technique of God to create Aiden. Now his strength is no weaker than that of his former mentor Alice. But what he doesn't know is that behind him, there is a little white mouse watching him quietly. At this time, Aiden was not idle either. "Congratulations, Jim Carrey, you can be released from prison now." Jim Carrey's face was full of suspicion. "When did you become so kind?" Warden Aiden is about to make a huge gamble with the prisoners. If he wins, he will gain a large number of loyal followers. If he loses, he and the Rose prison will be doomed. It turns out that in order to check and balance the rioters, Aiden asked Jean Jia, the former head of the mercenary group, to gather the strength of the model faction. Things went smoothly, but in the eyes of the Warden Aiden, they still needed a test. So he found the former bounty hunter Jim Carrey and announced to release him early. Jim Carrey was incredulous. "When did you become so kind? You don't need to worry about this. I just want to ask if you want to get out." Jim Carrey certainly thought about it, but he also knew that he would have to pay a price. Sure enough, when he changed his clothes and was about to leave the prison, Aiden stopped him and said, "Don't leave in a hurry. Let's talk about a business related to your bounty hunter." On the other side, in the prison cafeteria, almost all the prisoners were discussing matters concerning the Jean family, and they were already eager to work for the prison. Later, he also found his old acquaintance here, his former mentor, the witch Alice. With just one glance, Alice recognized the student she had driven away. Later, he spoke first. "Teacher, I can help you escape from prison." Hearing this, Alice smiled. "I'm overthinking. When did I say I wanted to escape from prison? I'm doing fine in prison. Come on, teacher. After all these years, don't I know you? I know you don't trust me yet. To show my sincerity, I will show you my bargaining chips. This is the secret technique I learned in the Land of God's Fall. I call it prosperity. Let's take this Kuan egg as an example. As long as it touches prosperity, it can quickly turn into a handsome Kuan Kuan. In the same way, we can use it to catalyze the prison's magic collar, causing it to age and become damaged in a very short time. Of course, I also know that you, teacher, have signed a contract with Aiden. Once you betray Aiden, the curse will be triggered and you will die suddenly. But prosperity can still solve this problem. When the dosage used by Shui Kunken exceeds a critical point, Shui Kunken will split into 2 Shui Kunkens, and the 2 are completely unrelated. This means that you can let the split clone bear the curse brought by the contract for you. After listening to this, Alice smiled and said, "For the sake of our relationship as master and disciple, if you leave now, I can pretend that nothing happened." Hearing the word, later, he instantly showed an expression of disbelief, but the next second, he laughed again. "Teacher Alice, you are really a joker. I guess you want to wait until Aiden and I are both defeated before escaping from prison." Alice said, "You are so smart." At this moment, several prisoners suddenly walked in. It turned out to be the rioters led by Birdman. They caused a riot as soon as they came in. Birdman beat up a prisoner without any warning. Sisters, come on, get rid of all Aiden's lackeys. The scene fell into chaos for a while, and later watched all this calmly. Teacher, you can choose now. Either stop me and become my enemy completely, or sit back and watch the show and join us. At this time, Aiden had just received the list of prisoners who participated in the farming. 202 prisoners, that's enough. My idea is that you can learn to make wine while growing potatoes. When the Jean family heard about making wine, they instantly became excited. Great Warden, I am willing to fully support you. At this time, Aiden suddenly changed the subject. But here comes the problem again. We don't have seeds. How about this? You guys go out of prison and buy some seeds. After these words came out, Jean, Jia, and Aya were stunned. Don't be afraid. I trust you. Not only that, I will send prisoners to help you. Just then, a prison guard walked in. Lord Aiden, the prisoner you asked for, Jila, is here. So, the confused Jean family and their 5 equally confused companions came to the prison gate. What was even more unbelievable was that the mayor of District 1 of the city personally escorted them out. Even after they walked out of the prison gate, they still felt like they were dreaming. The group of people walked on the street and attracted a lot of attention, but what they didn't know was that Jim Carrey was watching them quietly in the dark. It turns out that this is the business that Aiden and he did. He let Jim Carrey monitor them as a bounty hunter, and once they show signs of escaping, only death will await them. He is the cutest prisoner in the Rose prison, but also the one who wants to escape the most. But just when Jalala was about to take action, he was suddenly frightened and lost control of his bowels and bladder. It turned out that all this was a trap set by the Warden Aiden. In order to verify whether the model prisoners are truly loyal, he asked the Kim family to take Gilala and others out to purchase seeds needed for farming. At the same time, Aiden also hired bounty hunter Jim Carrey to monitor them. Once they show signs of escape, only death will await them. Led by the wood elf Jalala, they came to the slums of Silver City. As they walked further in, the number of people began to decrease, and the houses became more and more dilapidated. Red Fox Demon Mandy sensed something was wrong. The curse mark on her neck began to loosen slowly, which meant that she was about to leave the range of the forbidden magic circle. Aya, the smartest among the group, also noticed something was wrong. Jalala stopped pretending and took off the wooden sign representing the prisoners. Why are you pretending to be confused? We need to take a longer route to plan our escape. The scene comes to Aiden's office, and Franda asks in confusion, how did you know that Jalala was going to escape from prison? Aiden spoke slowly. I ask him to check on Ajin every day, but he has been absent from work for several days in a row. If he was a child, I could understand it, but unfortunately, he is over 170 years old. The sudden change made me guess that he had other thoughts. The scene returns to Jalala, who grits his teeth and says, do you know how I've been spending the past few days? I've had to endure strong murderous intent all the time, and I was almost killed by the rioting prisoners. They definitely wouldn't dare to mess with you guys who are big and strong. But for a short and weak soft persimmon like me, everyone would want to bully me. Aiden gave me 10 kilograms of sticks, which I can use as travel expenses for my escape. What do you think? Hearing this, Mandy became interested. I agree. It just so happens that I have many lovers who can protect me. The closest one is in the Justice Empire. However, the witch in the Demon Flame Forest in the middle doesn't get along with me, so I need Sister Jin's escort. The Jean family said, go away. After being rejected, Mandy instantly turned into a dog licker. Sister Jean, will you come with me? Seeing that the situation was about to get out of control, Aya quickly interrupted him. Don't you guys notice anything strange? Jalala, don't you notice anything unusual either? But what he didn't expect was that at this time, Jalala had already quietly picked up the discarded wooden sign and said, I'm sorry, everyone. I took the wrong road. Let's go buy potatoes now. At this moment, he had lost his previous arrogance, and his legs were shaking wildly. Aya also understood at this moment that this was a trap from the beginning. They first gave us the illusion that we could be free, and then destroyed this illusion with overwhelming despair, making people dare not guess or think. Aya's guess was correct. They were already surrounded by bounty hunters, and they were ready to attack at any time. Jalala, who was born with the ability to observe the emotions of those around her, also completely collapsed in the endless murderous intent. The scene returns to the office of Warden Aiden. So if you want the wolf to be loyal, you must first let him know what fear is. A Jean, who was sitting opposite him, listened with great interest. So Little Red Riding Hood can tame the wolf? Then Grandma won't be eaten? It depends on you, little Ajin. Nothing is absolute. After listening, Ajin seemed to understand something. At this moment, the image of future appeared in his mind. At this moment, the prison alarm suddenly sounded. Flanda was incredulous. There was a riot in the cafeteria, but isn't Alice there? Warden Aiden was also confused. Why would there be a problem with the cafeteria? That's where all the prisoners eat. It won't benefit anyone if it's destroyed. Besides, isn't Alice guarding there? Is there something wrong with her? Moreover, after such a long time, none of the rioting prisoners escaped from prison. This is very abnormal. There must be someone behind the scenes directing them. After figuring it out, Aiden slowly said, "Let the prison guards observe carefully to see who is directing that group of prisoners." The scene came to the cafeteria, which was already in a mess. Later, looked at Alice proudly. "In the end, you still didn't make a move. So, are you going to beg Aiden to forgive you, or join our team?" Alice snorted coldly. "Do you think I will surrender so easily? Don't dream." At this time, the prisoners around were still fighting. Tables and chairs were overturned, food was scattered all over the floor, and it was a mess. Aiden paced back and forth in the office, thinking about how to deal with it. He knew that this cafeteria riot was no accident, and there must be a bigger conspiracy behind it. He must find out the truth as soon as possible, otherwise the prison will fall into a more dangerous situation. At the same time, in other parts of the prison, the prisoners were also talking about what was going on in the cafeteria, while others were planning to take advantage of the chaos to do something. The entire prison was filled with a tense and uneasy atmosphere. The werewolf was trying to maintain order in other areas of the prison. He patrolled the corridors and watched every cell vigilantly. The prisoners who wanted to take the opportunity to cause trouble shut up when they saw the werewolf's cold eyes. Franda was also busy. He led the remaining prison guards to strengthen the defense of important areas of the prison. He knew that if those evil-minded prisoners succeeded, the prison would be completely out of control. Thinking for a moment, Aiden decided to go to the cafeteria in person. He knew that only by facing the problem could he find a solution. He straightened his clothes, picked up his weapon, and strode towards the cafeteria. When he arrived at the cafeteria door, the noise inside hit him. He took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and shouted, "Stop it!" His voice echoed in the cafeteria, full of majesty. When the prisoners who were fighting heard the sound, they stopped what they were doing and turned to look at the door. Seeing that it was Aiden, some prisoners showed fear, while later, S' face darkened and a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. Aiden's eyes swept through the crowd and finally landed on Ho-Ho. "I don't care what your purpose is, you can't cause trouble here." Ho-Ho smiled disdainfully. "Aiden, don't be too proud. Today's matter is not over yet." Ignoring his provocation, Aiden began to investigate the cause of the riot. He questioned some prisoners and gradually pieced together what happened from their answers. It turned out that Ho-Ho deliberately instigated the rebellious prisoners and provoked this conflict. After understanding the situation, Aiden looked at afterwards. "Do you think you can achieve your goal like this?" "Too naive." Afterwards sneered. "Just wait and see. Aiden, this is just the beginning." Aiden knew that the battle with the future had just begun, and he had to be more careful and maintain the order of the prison.